I never knew I'd find solace in a stranger's farm after my heartbreaking loss. The day everything unraveled, I felt as if the ground beneath my feet was pulling me deeper into darkness. It was raining, the kind of rain that felt weighty, like it was crying for me. I stood in front of our old house, every creak of the wooden floor echoing my shattered heart. My hands trembled as I clutched an old photograph, a frozen moment of laughter, the smiles vibrant against the stormy backdrop of memories that now haunted me. I couldn't breathe. The ache in my chest felt like a vice grip. I never thought I would lose him, not like that. After the funeral, I found myself driving aimlessly, past fields that stretched endlessly, punctuated by shadows of trees reaching out like lost souls. I pulled over at the sight of a weathered sign, Edith's Farm. It was odd no one else was there, no cars, just silence wrapped around the rustling corn. My heart yearned for quiet, suffocating from the chaos swirling in my mind. A sudden gust of wind, cold and biting, stirred up the dust as I stepped out. The air was thick with earthiness, mingling with an unsettling hint of something sweet. I wandered onto the property, feeling drawn in like a moth to a flame. In the distance, a red barn loomed, but there was something strange. It seemed to hum, a low, melodic vibration that sent shivers down my spine. As I approached the barn, my senses heightened. I heard whispers, faint echoes of laughter that seemed trapped in the air. They brushed against my skin like ghostly fingers. I pushed the heavy door open, and a wave of warmth enveloped me. It was filled with vibrant, glowing petals of flowers I had never seen before, casting an ethereal light that flickered like fireflies at dusk. In the corner, a girl knelt, her back to me. She wore a dress of deep green that blended with the plants. I swallowed hard. Something about her felt familiar, yet wildly different. She turned, her eyes sparkling. They were pools of deep, swirling mystery. "Are you here for the pain?" she asked, her voice like honey sweet, but laced with sorrow. I hesitated. I had no answer. Was I? Then, the ground trembled beneath us. The barn seemed to breathe, pulsing with an energy that was both frightening and mesmerizing. The girl stood up, extending her hand towards me. "Come with me. I can show you things." My heart raced. Was it an invitation or a warning? I felt a pull, a compulsion to step closer. But what did things mean? Was I ready to uncover the secrets this stranger held? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The girl's outstretched hand lingered in the air, glowing like a beacon amid the dim light of the barn. My instinct told me to turn away, to flee back to the familiarity of pain rather than explore this new, unfathomable territory. But curiosity clawed at me, urging me forward. "What do you mean, pain?" I asked, my voice breaking like the silence that hung around us. She searched my eyes, her gaze piercing through layers of grief I had woven around myself. Not all pain is meant to chain us down. Some opens doors we never knew existed. With a hesitant heart, I took her hand. The moment our fingers intertwined, a surge of warmth rushed through me, igniting something within that I believed had long faded. The barn around us began to dissolve, the vibrant flowers flickering like candle flames before surrendering to shadow. Suddenly, I found myself standing in a sun-drenched field that seemed to stretch infinitely. Birds screeched overhead, and the air was fragrant with wildflower blooms. "This is where I come to heal," she said softly, her voice now blending with the wind. "Each flower holds a story, a fragment of loss, a thread of hope." That I looked around, bewildered by the transformation. "But how can this be real?" I whispered, needing the solidity of an answer even as I felt the grip of sorrow loosen slightly around my heart. "It is real, just as real as the sorrow you carry," she replied. "You have to let it breathe, feed it love instead of fear. Only then will it transform." As her words echoed, I felt an inexplicable urge to touch the flowers. Tentatively, I bent down and brushed my hand against the soft petals of a vibrant purple bloom. A flood of memories rushed back, me, husband, and I in a wildflower meadow, laughing, dancing, as sunbeams kissed our faces. The ache returned, fierce, but something in it felt less suffocating. What if I lose them forever? I murmured, more to myself than to her. Loss does not erase love, but it can reshape it. Embrace it, and it will guide you. She stepped closer, her presence grounding me. You don't have to carry it alone. The words thickened on my tongue like honey, sweet but overwhelming. Did I dare ask for help when I felt so lost? Who are you? I managed to choke out, I am Edith, she said, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her lips. And I know the depths of your heartache. I lost someone once too. Time seemed to warp. The weight of her words resonated deep within me, igniting a flicker of understanding. You can't move on from something so profound, I said, the fog of confusion lifting just enough to reveal a glimmer of clarity. Edith's gaze softened, revealing the depths of her own pain. You can move forward. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means making space for new beginnings. Just as I was about to respond, a sudden gust of wind swept through the meadow, swirling around us like the remnants of a storm. The record of laughter and joy began to crack, splintering under the weight of something darker. The flowers wilted, their vibrancy dimming. The serene surroundings morphed violently, shadows dancing like ghosts, tugging at the edges of my sanity. Panic bubbled up within me. What's happening? I cried, fear constricting my chest. Edith's expression turned serious. We need to go back. She grabbed my hand again, pulling me with an urgency I had not seen before. We tore through the labyrinth of the shadows, the barn flickering back into view, a sanctuary from the chaos. But just as we reached the door, a loud crack echoed, and I turned to see what had been chasing us. A figure loomed in the distance, dark and formless. It seemed too familiar and too insidious all at once. My heart plummeted as the realization dawned on me, a reflection of my grief, materialized and seeking to consume me. Run, Edith shouted, urgency lacing her tone. But as I darted inside, I felt the ground beneath me tremble once more. The sweet scent in the air now was laced with an acrid bitterness, and I could hear the howling of me own despair, unleashed. Just as the barn door slammed shut, sealing me away from that haunting figure, my heart sank. I wasn't trapped. I was right where I was meant to be. Yet, as the shadows receded and the warmth enveloped me, I realized that the battle was far from over. Edith stood beside me, our breaths mingling in the heavy air, both of us awaiting the next wave of revelations. Little did I know, the secret she held could change everything. It took a chance, a step into a new reality, and facing my grief was just the beginning of the journey. What awaited us remained unclear, but one thing felt certain. The hurt I held tight wasn't just mine to bear. It was an echo that resonated through time and space, waiting for a reckoning that would change everything. The air crackled with tension as I turned to Edith, who stood as a steady lighthouse in the storm of my emotions. Shadows lingered at the corners of the barn, stretching like memories refusing to fade, and I realized any sense of safety was an illusion as fragile as the flowers in the meadow. What do you mean by a reckoning? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. I needed her to explain it to me, to shed light on the darkness gathering within. Edith's brow furrowed slightly, and she hesitated, the weight of the answer hanging between us like a pendulum. There's something I've held back from you. You're not alone in your pain. It wasn't only loss that brought me here. It was also the weight of a secret. Her words were a chasm, deep and unfathomable, pulling me in. What can be worse than losing someone you love? I asked, desperation creeping into my tone. She took a step closer, the sincerity in her gaze rippling through me. What if I told you that your grief isn't purely yours? What if there's a truth buried beneath it, waiting for you to uncover? Each word felt like a stone sitting heavy in my chest. What do you mean? Are you saying my pain is someone else's too? Edith's eyes glimmered with both compassion and resolve. When I lost my son, I thought I had to weather the storm alone. But I discovered that his spirit intertwines with my own story. He's still here, in ways I never expected, guiding me without my knowing. That a tear slipped down my cheek as I felt the weight of her story crashing against my heart. How could that be possible? I wish I could believe that my husband is still here, too. Sometimes, they linger in the loved ones they've left behind, shaping our paths, urging us to heal. If we can figure out how to listen, they'll lead us to the light amid the shadows. A flicker of hope reared its head, but it was quickly snuffed out by the reality of my situation. But what if I can't find that connection? My voice trembled, vulnerability spilling onto the barn floor. You can. It just takes courage and trust. She paused, a contemplative look washing over her features. Do you want to know how? Yes, I did. Part of me screamed to leap into the unknown. But another facet held me back, shackled by fear. What if I'm not strong enough? Edith reached out, cupping my cheek with her palm in a gesture that felt both foreign and reassuring. Strength isn't the absence of fear, it's crawling through it. When you embrace the sorrow, you honor the love that can never be extinguished. A bell tolled in the distance, growing louder, reverberating through the barn, and shaking the very foundations of my doubt. I could hear its echo in the silence that ensued. It felt like someone calling me back to the reality I feared before I had lost everything. Maybe I'm not ready, I murmured, struggling to balance the weight of longing against the gravity of despair. Edith sighed, stepping back. I can't make this decision for you. But you shouldn't feel that you have to do it alone. Face your fear of the unknown with me beside you. I promise you won't regret it. A sense of urgency bubbled up. The shadows flickered faintly, and the itch of an unseen presence nagged at the edges of my mind. Would I really confront my grief, or would I succumb to the darkest corners of my heart? Just then, a loud crash erupted from outside, causing both of us to jump. The barn wall shuddered, and a splintering sound echoed through the air as a board broke free from its restraints, letting a sharp ray of light pierce through the darkness. What was that? I gasped, adrenaline shooting through my veins. Edith reached for my hand again, her expression fierce. Whatever it is, it's not done with us yet. Are you ready to step into the unknown? The twist of fate lay heavy on my decision. My heart pounded as I weighed the peril of stepping back outside against the potential of confronting what lay ahead. I closed my eyes, trying to find a sliver of clarity among the cacophony of confusion. Then, in the depths of stillness, a thought emerged, a way to honor the love that had once filled my life. Yes, I whispered, feeling a rush of newfound resolve mingled with trepidation. Let's go, Edith. But as we turned back towards the barn doors, the chilling air thickened, and an unexpected chill ran through me. Something whispered my name, a voice so achingly familiar yet distant, haunting and foreboding. My breath hitched as I recognized the sound from my past, and for an instant, all the warmth and love became an icy tightening around my heart. I glanced at Edith, whose expression had morphed into one of alarm, a knowing fear flickering in her gaze. Wait. You don't understand. I stammered. I can't let go of. The door swung wide open, and the blinding light enveloped us both, stripping away every ounce of denial. Just as I took a step forward, the haunting whisper answered back, the last thing I ever expected to hear. Open your heart, and you will find me. The light swallowed us whole, its brightness stark against the dimness of my heart. I felt the warmth wrap around me, reminiscent of a long-lost embrace, pulling me into an unfamiliar reality where all felt possible, yet utterly terrifying. What is happening? I stammered, my throat tight as I held fast onto Edith's hand, trepidation creeping in once more. The echoes of that whisper clung to the air around us, a haunting melody that tugged my very soul. Stay close, Edith urged, her voice steady, yet a tremor quaked through her fingers as she gripped my palm tighter. Together, we crossed the threshold into the light, blurring the line between safety and vulnerability. Outside, the world had transformed. The meadow on the farm, once vibrant and alive, now shimmered with an ethereal glow. The colors were more vivid than I recalled, as if someone had blended reality with a dream and spattered it with hues of hope. Yet, amid the beauty, a quiet unease festered. Where am I? I whispered, looking around as thoughts of what I might encounter filled my mind. This is where things become visible, where shadows meet light. It's both the sanctuary and the trial, Edith replied, her gaze scanning the surroundings. You must determine what you're willing to face here. I swallowed hard, the adrenaline still coursing through me, giving me equal parts courage and fear. But why do I hear him? Didn't I say goodbye? Sometimes, The echoes of love resonate in ways we don't understand. But to hear them, you must listen. And reflect, she advised, her voice soft but unwavering. Your journey isn't done yet. Floating memories began swirling around me. Visions of laughter under sun-drenched skies, of shared glances that held unspoken secrets, and voices that once sang sweet comforts became mingled with the breeze. Above it all, the whisper lingered, wrapping around me like a fleeting shadow. Open your heart, and you will find me. Each reminder was a dagger to the chest, but cloaked in an undeniable sweetness that clung to my heart. I wondered how I could reconcile that ache with the weight of sorrow pressing down on me like an anchor. Edith, I began tentatively, if this place reveals my pain, am I strong enough? What if it uncovers wounds I cannot bear? Pain is part of healing, but you're not here to face it alone, she reassured. Remember, this is your choice. What will you seek here? Closure, connection, or simply to understand? My heart raced as I pondered my options. If I reached for closure, would it mean leaving behind a piece of my love forever? And yet, the weight of unresolved grief bore down on my spirit, threatening to crush whatever strength I had left. If sensing my turmoil, the space around us shifted. A gust of wind swept through the meadow, and the light dimmed just enough to reveal a figure standing in the distancia, silhouette etched against the horizon. Familiar and almost ethereal. Did I ask that? I gasped, my heart leaping to my throat. It seems your heart has summoned something, Edith said, her voice low and steady. Remember, it's not just about what you uncover. It's about what you're willing to accept. My heart thudded loudly against my ribs as I watched the figure approach, the haunting echo of his voice leading me deeper into the fray of fear and longing. Open your heart. I clutched Edith's hand tighter, her presence a fragile reminder of reality, yet the pull of the specter drew me closer. Each step felt like a tether to the past, haunted by recollections and the haunting specter of what had been lost. Do I dare? I murmured, a knot forming in my throat. Will he only bring me more pain if I reach out? Only you can answer that, Edith said softly. But sometimes, facing the truth unlocks a path to understanding, even love. The figure became clearer, features emerging from obscurity, familiar and achingly beloved, yet wrapped in layers of uncertainty. I gasped, emotions swirling violently within me. My heart and mind battled for dominance, guilt warring against longing. As I stood rooted in place, my resolve began to fray, and the figure, now just steps away, called to me, his voice as it had always been, rich with warmth and comfort. You must choose. Open your heart. Suddenly, darkness crept at the edges of my vision, filling the air with disorienting tension like an unwelcome fog. It brushed past me with icy fingers, wrapping shadows around my heart like chains. I felt fear reminding me of the last time I had let someone in, the costs of vulnerability crashing down on me. Edith, I cried, terrified as the darkness pressed in on us. What if I lose myself? What if I can't return? There is power in choice, she said softly, her eyes never leaving mine. And within it, there is also the possibility of redemption. Do you dare to discover what lies beneath the shadows? As the figure extended a hand, the warmth radiated, pulling me with an intensity that left me breathless. All that had come before it became a weight I was no longer sure I wanted to carry. Open your heart, and you will find me. The specter beckoned, the darkness swirled, and the trepidation tightened around my throat like a noose, leaving me intoxicated with longing and dread. I took a deep breath, looking from the fading warmth of Edith's clasp to the looming figure that promised reunion or ruin. With a heart beating in time with my breath, I faced the uncertainty, and the shadows beckoned me into the light, leaving a terrifying cliffhanger of unknown promises and heartbreaks untold. With the last remnants of daylight fading, the meadow glowed as if caught between two worlds, one of nostalgia and the other bathed in an unsettling twilight. Shadows danced at the periphery, teasing my anxiety, while the warmth of the familiar figure beckoned me closer. My heart raced, caught between the desire for reunion and the terror of past wounds. Open your heart, the whisper echoed again, now laced with a sense of urgency that pulled at my very core. I glanced back at Edith, who nodded encouragingly, though the worry etched on her brow shadowed her faith. You're braver than you know, she seemed to say without words, her presence an anchor amid a rising tide of emotions. Can I trust this light? I spoke more to myself than to anyone else, the trembling uncertainty in my voice betraying the longing I felt deep within. What if facing this beloved specter led to further devastation? The ghosts of grief swirled, entangling with hope in a dance I couldn't comprehend. The figure's outstretched hand shimmered, an alluring mix of familiar warmth and overwhelming fear. You don't have to do this alone. Edith's voice broke through the chaos, steadying me. The darkness surrounding us felt thick now, almost sentient, trying to suffocate the light that flickered within me. With a breath caught in my throat, I took a step forward, yearning to bridge the gulf of our disconnected past. The figure smiled a smile, ever so tender as shadows flickered in the corners of the meadow, almost as if they too radiated with expectancy. It was the kind of smile that had once promised the world to me. And yet, I hesitated, the memories of loss brushing harshly against my tender heart. Open your heart, the command urged me onward, a chant that echoed in the cool night air. Will you forgive me? I barely said the words aloud, the weight of them hanging like fog on a crisp morning. Forgiveness could heal, but it could also bind me to my own shortcomings, my failures floating like specters above our shared laughter. Will Weccan Weaver bridge that gap? Only if you allow it, the figure replied, voice seasoned with love yet tinged with sorrow, as if sensing my inner turmoil. I have waited so long to tell you the truth. Perfect silence surrounded us, suspending time in a delicate balance, as I felt a cascade of pent-up emotions spilling toward the ground like rain upon thirsty soil. The meadow resonated with my heart's turmoil, a symphony of aching sorrow and the whisper of newfound hope. What truth? I managed to ask, the quiver of my voice blending into the gentle rustling of tall grasses that danced with the wind. As the figure seemed to step closer, his features came into focus. Eyes that had once been my universe sparkled softly, reflecting depth and understanding. I lost myself for a moment in that gaze, a familiar longing igniting and unveiling emotions that had laid dormant, reminding me of days filled with laughter and dreams. Everything that happened, I wish you could understand my choices, he began, his voice thick with unshed emotion. It was so much more than I could ever express. I thought, but before he could finish, the darkness crashed down around me, and with a haunting whisper, tendrils enveloped his form, distorting the warmth I had sought. No, don't go, I cried, feeling an instinctive urge to reach out, to grasp onto that fading warmth. Stay strong, my love, he murmured, but already, the shadows tightened their grip, warping his image and twisting into a grotesque caricature of what had once brought me comfort. The brightness of the meadow dimmed, shadows pooling at my feet like dark raindrops falling from the sky. Help me, I pleaded, gathering courage to fight against the encroaching darkness. My connection to the figure wavered, stifled beneath a heaviness that threatened to crush that very bond. The whispers grew louder, morphing into a tempest that raged around us. Make your choice. Edith's voice sliced through the chaos, raw with urgency. Remember, the power is in your hands. He extended his hand one last time, pleading and desperate. Open your heart. Let me back in. With every ounce of willpower, I fought to reach for him, to bridge the chasm between us, longing piercing deeper than the sorrow that threatened to consume. Tears streamed down my face, mixing with the intensity of the battle around me. I want to understand, I cried out, but the shadows felt alive, gnawing at the edges of my spirit, reminding me of my fear. Trust, came the whisper, now a haunting discord, battling against my resolve. Trust and love, and just as I felt ready to succumb to the darkness, a sudden gust of wind swept through the meadow, casting away the shadows with a blinding light, a halo of luminous hope and warmth. I felt a force pushing me toward his hand again, but then, something unexpected broke through. An overwhelming sensation of loss, mingled with a flicker of recognition, shattered my focus. I turned, the revelation gripping my heart like cold steel, shattering my resolve in an instant. There, behind me, in the depths of the shadows, stood a shape that had also felt familiar lingering beyond the light, a figure I never thought I would face again. My world stopped. I gasped, dread creeping back into my veins. No, It can't be, as the warmth of reunion faded. The chilling touch of dark reality surged, making me question everything I had sought, throwing me into an even deeper emotional torment. The figure from the past was present, and the universe had just exploded into chaos once more. The warmth of the meadow had transformed into a surreal battleground where emotions collided, and the beautiful light I had fought for now seemed shrouded in uncertainty. That ghost from my past, the one I thought I had bid farewell to, lingered at the periphery, drawing me away from the promise I had felt only moments before. "Why are you here?" I whispered, my voice cracking with the intensity of the revelation. Confusion washed over me, blurring the lines between joy and despair. The shadows quivered with my uncertainty, swirling around like storm clouds. "I've come to find you," the figure replied, voice threaded with a warmth that once brought me comfort but now stirred a maelstrom of conflicting emotions. "I thought you needed to see me to remember." The figure stepped into the light, revealing features that felt both familiar and alien. My heart ached as I saw someone dear to me, yet the distance of time painted them as a ghost, their essence entwined with memories I wished to flee from. "Why now? After all this time?" Desperation clawed at my chest. "You left. You made your choice, and I had to live with the consequences of your actions." The anger spilled out, a rush of pent-up grief that had simmered beneath the surface for too long. "Yes," the figure acknowledged, pain flashing in their eyes. "But I always carried you with me. Your memories are a sacred bond that has never faded. Too didn't want to hurt you. I thought my absence would protect you." The shadows hissed, cycling through the depths of my heart's turmoil, banishing all sense of serenity. The gust of wind that had once granted light began to dwindle, revealing the darkness that still clung to my spirit like an unwelcome guest. Would I ever break free from this cycle of loss? Edith, who stood frozen at my side, grasped my arm tightly. "You don't have to invite him back in, not if it brings you pain. Remember, you are not obligated to forgive him." Her voice was desperate, a lifeline I needed in the grip of spiraling emotions. My internal battle raged on, each heartbeat echoing the fight of the past and the longing for solace. "What do you want from me?" I spoke to the figure, determination sharpening my voice. "What am I meant to gain from this encounter?" "Clarity," he answered softly. "The power to heal lies within your willingness to see the truth of what happened and to allow yourself to forgive." Pain shot through me as I tried to reconcile his words with my reality. Forgiveness felt like an unattainable plateau set against an unforgiving cliff. I understood the concept yet feared its vulnerability. "Forgive you?" I spat, hot tears of angry betrayal spilling down my cheeks. Forgiving would mean unraveling years of grief. It would mean confronting everything you made me endure. "Then let me help you," he pleaded, the shadows behind him flickering with intensity as if resonating with my turmoil. I've carried that weight too, and now I faced the truth of it all. The air thickened with tension as I glanced at Edith, despair mirrored in her eyes. I feared the chasm between hope and anguish might widen irreparably. I didn't want to hurt anymore. I craved the light, but was terrified it was nothing but an illusion. Before I could respond, a faint cry echoed across the meadow, slicing through the charged atmosphere like lightning splitting the sky. We all turned toward the sound, a convergence of life and despair. A doe, trembling and weak, stumbled into the clearing, its liquid eyes reflecting the pain echoed in my heart. And then, as if nature itself conspired against me, the shadows writhed violently, entwining around the doe, flickering like flames. I watched in horror as the creature fell, caught in a battle it had no chance of winning, a living embodiment of my own struggles. "No," I cried out, panic surging through my veins. My heart raced at the thought of helplessness, as the shadows tethered me, rooting me to the spot. Who would I beta? One who watched, the one who fought, or the one who collapsed? "Help it!" I shouted, desperation cracking my voice. "Save it, please." I turned to Edith and found her, already moving toward the doe, but the shadows kept me anchored, whispering of failure, of despair, and of fear. "Find your strength," she shouted back, her face fierce with determination. "It starts with forgiveness. Do it for both of you." The gust of hope returned, swirling around me like tendrils of light fighting against the encroaching darkness. In that moment, I realized Edith was right. It wasn't just about confronting my pain or deciding whether to forgive. It was about acknowledging the light that still flickered amidst the shadows of my past. With renewed resolve, I stepped forward, inhaling deeply as I reached toward the doe. As my fingers brushed against its trembling body, a surge of warmth coursed through me, melding into a pulse of love and healing that radiated from my heart. And in that moment, a strange connection formed me, a reminder that even in the ugly grip of despair, there existed a searing warmth capable of igniting hope. As I concentrated on the doe's fragile spirit, I summoned the courage within. The shadows recoiled, emitting harrowing cries that echoed the pain of my heart, a tumultuous, chaotic symphony threatening to engulf us all. Then came a voice, not from the figure of my past nor from the darkness, but a soft whisper of my own. I can forgive. I can let go. The weight of grief lifted, leaving behind a vacancy filled with tentative hope. The doe, rejuvenated by my resolve and driven by an instinctual will to live, sprung to its feet, regaining its strength as the shadows recoiled from the light I had ignited. But just as I felt the bonds of pain begin to dissolve, I caught a sudden shift in the air, a flicker of recognition tearing through the chaos that I in the distance. Amidst the thrumming emotion, I caught sight of another figure, emerging into the light from where the darkness retreated, a silhouette I couldn't place but felt deep in my soul. The heartbeat of my own journey faltered as I gasped, the emotional tide crashing against the cliffs of my resolve. Who are you? I barely breathed. The figure stepped further into the light, and the world held its breath as life twisted, revealing yet another link to my past I had never anticipated. The shadows recoiled, suffocated by the light, yet I stood frozen, wondering if I was ready for the impact that would follow. The meadow I once found solace in now pulsed with an unsettling energy, a tapestry of confusion and buried memories. The figure that emerged from the shadows wore an expression I couldn't quite decipher, yet deep within me, it awakened an instinctive dread mingled with curiosity. My heart pounded mercilessly, constrained by the layers of unhealed scars. Who are you? I asked again, my voice strong yet shaky, echoing off the shadows that still danced around us, clinging in the wake of recovered hope. As the figure stepped fully into the light, the clarity that had begun to bloom in my spirit dimmed, eclipsed by another specter of the past. The stranger's features bore an uncanny resemblance to my lost love, eyes filled with sadness, a familiar curve of the jaw, but it was the haunted look that broke me. The resemblance was both unbearable and magnetic. I'm sorry, they said, voice soft but laden with unspoken weight. Sorry? My lips trembled with disbelief. The word felt insufficient against the backdrop of all I had lost. Sorry for what? For bringing more ghosts into my life? Anger flared, a flash of fire amidst the chaos gripping me. It threatened to unravel the fragile threads of hope I had so narrowly grasped. I never meant to hurt you. Please, let me explain. Their tone was steady, yet the tremor underneath spoke volumes. I thought it was best if you believed I had moved on. I wanted to protect you. Instead, they paused, eyes searching mine. Instead, I chose silence over honesty, and I lost everything. The storm of emotions swelled within. How many times had I replayed our final moments together, the confusion and anger, the sensation of abandonment? You think silence was protection? You only stacked my grief higher. I stepped back involuntarily, entangled in a whirlwind of betrayal and longing. It was a mistake. The stranger's voice cracked, a glimpse of vulnerability. I wanted to be the one who saved you from pain, but I only led you deeper into shadows. I came back because they hesitated, eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Because I never stopped caring. Before I could form a response, Edith moved between us, a wall of steadfastness. Don't you see? You can't force your way back into her life and expect her to just forgive you. She has fought too long against her losses to let you walk in and own a piece of her heart again. Her voice echoed strength, but there was a tremor, the motherly urge to protect shining through her fierce exterior. I was torn between two worlds, clinging to the hope that had rekindled only moments ago, while grappling with anguish as layered as the shadows enveloping the meadow. The doe had returned to its feet, albeit trembling, caught between instinct and unease. I felt the reflection of my own internal struggle mirrored in its wide, fearful eyes, Someone else's mistakes shouldn't dictate your life's course, the stranger said, desperation flaring in their voice. There's so much we need to confront, and I interrupted sharply, an avalanche of emotions crashing against my chest. You no longer get to dictate the narrative of my life. You left me. Each shout against the whispering shadows carried the weight of my grief, igniting another flicker of light within. I survived without you, and I was learning to thrive. I saw what you became, they replied, fragility lacing their words. You became a ghost reliant on shadows, using your grief as armor. I've been trying to figure out how to help you see the beauty alive in that void. You can still be whole. The weight of those words cascaded upon me, intoxicating and paralyzing. Did I truly wear my pain like armor, or had I built a fortress that kept the light out? The thought tore through my heart, a rending that felt almost like betrayal against everything I held fiercely. Stop, I shouted, breath hitching wildly. You don't understand. You were supposed to protect me, to face the world together. Your absence left me hollow. The shadows, now thick with emotion, licked the edges of my resolve, seeking to reclaim their hold. Edith, stepping closer, reached for my hand, grounding me as if sensing the storm brewing within. The path you take doesn't need to be shadowed by him. You've built a beautiful life around your loss. You've healed more than you realize. Her voice softened, a healing balm against the charged atmosphere. It's never been about him. It's always been about you and the light within you. With her words echoing in my soul, I turned back to the stranger, my heart thrumming loudly, uncertain and fierce. You're here now, but can I trust who you are, who you've become? The question hovered in the air, laden with the gravity of vulnerability. Before they could respond, the meadow trembled. The ground shook as shadows coiled tighter, casting an ominous pall, and a low rumbling filled the air, a distant echo of thunder or the prelude to a storm. The shadows retaliated, swirling around us, threatening to swallow the light emanating from my heart. Run, Edith shouted, gripping my hand tightly. The urgency in her voice stirred deep-rooted instincts. Fear gnawed at my thoughts. I hesitated, glancing back at the stranger, torn between escape and the urge to confront the haunting memories they represented. Please, their voice reached like a lifeline, yet my spirit wavered, ensnared between the desire for closure and the stark reality of pain. Just as I steeled myself to flee, the darkness at our feet coalesced, revealing a dreadful shape rising from the ground, a much larger manifestation of the shadows we had faced. The whisper of uncertainty hissed, taunting us with the question that lingered. Were we prepared to confront the truths buried deep within our hearts? Together, we fight, I declared, a fierce glimmer igniting within. We had the power to face our shadows, to fuse the fragility of our hearts with the strength of solidarity. But as I prepared to move forward, an unexpected crack echoed through the chaos. A revelation. Stay, I will always love you, the stranger murmured, a haunting admission slicing through the tumult, leaving me with an image of a love I thought to be buried among the ruins of my past. And there it was, the kite of hope tethered precariously against the gathering storm, as reality hung in a delicate balance, whispering the next challenge yet to come, the choice I had to make against the gathering shadows. The meadow seemed to pulsate with a rhythm of its own, a heartbeat woven deeply into the tapestry of my emotions. Shadows danced beside us, thick and oppressive, yet there was an undeniable flicker of light fighting to break through. I swallowed hard, my throat tight with confusion as the weight of the stranger's confession clung to the air between us. I will always love you. Those words reverberated, mingling with the sound of my own heartbeat. The final, desperate plea echoed in my chest. The thunder rumbled like an ominous warning, shaking loose memories I had tried hard to forget. I could feel the edges of my resolve fraying in the wake of both pain and longing. Those are just words, I shouted, though my voice wavered. What good are words without action? You were gone and I've been here, alone, fighting. The tempest of emotions surged within me, mixing pain with a hesitant glimmer of what could have been, the life I never got to have. Edith gripped my hand, her thumb stroking it in a gentle reassurance as if to ground me against the encroaching darkness. You have the strength to decide, she whispered, steady and firm. It was as if she were reminding me that my power was real, vibrant, pulsating like the meadow's hidden heartbeat. The shadows around us swirled with anger, dark tendrils reaching out, hungry for despair. Their restlessness fed the storms brewing above, anger colliding with fear, and within those moments of chaos, clarity struck like a lightning bolt. Maybe the past wouldn't let me go so easily, but it didn't have to suffocate the light I had nurtured in my soul. Why did you come back now? I finally addressed the stranger, my voice wavering but strong. Why after everything? The question laid bare the distrust entwined with my desperation for understanding. I thought about you every day, they replied, voice thick with regret. Nights were the hardest. That's when the darkness crept in. But I was too afraid to face you again, to face myself after I failed you. It took losing everything to realize that silence is not an answer, but a prison. Their honesty, raw and painful, dug like nails into the fabric of my heart. I wanted to scream it wasn't fair. Why was this confrontation necessary? The stark reality that the person who had caused me so much hurt now stood before me, clutching their own demons, felt like salt on an open wound. Yet, perhaps it was also an opportunity to acknowledge my own sorrows. I could hardly breathe beneath the weight of unresolved pain, layered thick with distrust. But what happens next? I asked, teeth gritting. Can you promise that leaving will never be an option again? How do I know I won't just be shattered once more? A flicker of something crossed their face, perhaps recognition, perhaps pain. I can't promise that. The admission hung heavily in the air, their eyes glistening with the weight of honesty. But I can promise that I will do everything in my power to face our shadows together. Together? I echoed, half in disbelief, half in yearning. Together seemed foreign, a concept smothered by my grief. As if setting his words into motion, the shadows backed away, coiling like mist retreating before dawn. The tension in the air lessened, though a sense of unease still whispered to me, warning me that the storm above was relentless and would not relent easily. Edith squeezed my hand tighter, grounding me in that moment. The decision is yours, she affirmed, her voice steady and unwavering. In her eyes, I found a deep, abiding love, one that wouldn't buckle under the weight of shattered trust. I felt the swell of hope and fear collide once more within me, swirling like leaves caught in a gust of wind. I had become accustomed to walking alone in the shadows. The light was blinding, raw and unfamiliar. And yet, it was calling to me. With a shuddering breath, I took a step towards the stranger, drawn as if by some invisible tether. I examined the contours of their face, allowing the fleeting memories to wash over me, a lifetime compressed into shared glances and fleeting touches. Could I allow myself this chance to rediscover what was lost, to taste the bittersweet honey of hope once more? Just then, a ferocious crack of thunder sliced through the sky, the shadows responding with a cacophony of screams. The air thickened, and the ground trembled as the entity rising from the depths of darkness swirled back into shoppy, looming presence of every hurt, every betrayal I had buried deep within. A moment of paralyzing fear gripped me, but alongside it came unyielding strength. I turned back to face the stranger, and within the depths of their troubled gaze, I saw kindness laced with despair, a reflection of the battle I had fought within my very soul. That I can't promise I won't be scared, I murmured. And I can't promise it will be easy. I will take that, they replied, a hint of reverence coloring their voice. Scared is okay. Scared means we're alive. We learn to navigate the shadows together. At least we faced them side by side. Something shifted within me, a breath underwater rising to the surface. I tightened my grip on Edith's hand as shadows loomed large overhead. The storm raged on, violent and relentless, trying to snuff out the light I had just begun to reclaim. Together, we faced the darkness anew, breathing life into the fragments of our past. But as I took that step, the entity thrived on our uncertainty, and I realized with chilling clarity that this confrontation could reveal much more than old wounds. Gazing into the gathering storm, the shadows veiled what was to come, and a new, haunting question echoed. Would we emerge from this battle whole, or would the cruel cycle of loss begin anew? The storm's fury roared around us, a tempest born of my own tumultuous heart. As the shadows twisted and writhed, I felt the weight of so many unanswered questions pressing down on me, each one heavier than the last. The truth hung in the air, thick and oppressive, a noose around our fragile existence. Are you ready? My voice trembled as I turned back to the stranger. The weight of their gaze was grounding yet unnerving, the mixture of empathy and pain causing a glimmer of hope to flicker, even in the face of overwhelming fear. But in that moment, something flickered inside the tightly coiled darkness. The shadows didn't just loom. They whispered secrets from the other side like an intricate web of memory-soft laughter, joy, and that sweet promise of what could be. I inhaled sharply, allowing a sliver of light to creep in through the cracks of my defenses. I need you to know, the stranger began, their voice steady yet laden with fragility, that the scars of my past, the ones that twisted my heart and clouded my judgment, are the very chains that bind me now. I want to break them, not just for me, but for what we might still build together. Despite the tremors of uncertainty that ran through me, I dared to hold on to their words. Hope was a fragile thing, almost as delicate as a dandelion drifting on a breeze. What do you mean, build? How can we make anything solid when everything around us feels like decay? My heart ached at the thought of rebuilding, but shadows screeched warnings, alerting me to the inherent risk of every endeavor. By facing the truth, by confronting what we both made of the past, they replied softly. Pretending our pain doesn't exist will only lead to more darkness. I'm willing to stand in the fire with you, to face the regrets and the choices that brought us here. I thought of Edith, her presence forged from the steel of her unwavering support, like a lighthouse cutting through the fog. Could I truly allow something semi-unknown into the walls I had so carefully built? The storm continued to unearth every memory, every betrayal, and my hands trembled as I brushed against the vulnerability creeping through my defenses. The ground buckled beneath us, burbling with a ferocity that echoed the urgency within me. I couldn't simply stand here and allow the shadows to dictate my reality. I turned to Edith, drawing strength from her unwavering gaze. I want to believe, I confessed, suddenly feeling like a child lost in a forest, wishing for the light to guide me home. You don't have to walk this path alone, she interjected, her voice clear as the thunder rolled away, momentarily subdued. Each step can be a choice. You choose what you want, and I will be here, okay? The strangers stepped closer, their hand outstretched, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. Pain mirrored in their eyes. Can we forge a new truth together, step by step? It may take time, but the path to healing begins with the courage to face it. That I hesitated, heart racing with trepidation. Was I brave enough to accept their hand and walk the uncertain road laid before us? Before I could answer, a guttural howl erupted from the dark clouds overhead. Tendrils of black mist snaked around us, wrapping tightly around my heart, squeezing tightly, as if trying to drag me back into despair. And oh, I won't go back. I shook my head vigorously, fighting against the encroaching darkness that clawed at my sanity. I want to face my fears, but I need to know that it's okay to be afraid. Remember that it's not about being fearless, the stranger urged, their voice a tether anchoring me. Fear exists, but it does not own you. We will learn to navigate the chaos together. You're not alone. The shadows hesitated, and in that flickering moment, I reached out and grasped the stranger's hand tightly within mine. It felt like a pact, a promise carved in the winds of this tempest. But just as hope began to kindle, the storm surged back to Lithia. A vicious blast of wind tore through the meadow, scattering petals and sending them swirling like lost dreams. In the heart of the chaos, a shocking revelation unfurled within me like a dark flower blooming in the night. What if I whispered, feeling the weight of possibilities crashing down like tidal waves? What if the past doesn't just haunt us, but haunts the decisions we make for the future? The stranger fell silent, their breath catching in the depths of uncertainty. The shadows answered in a haunting whisper, revealing truths I feared to explore. Somewhere deep within the storm, a flickering presence began to emerge, figures lost to time, names etched in whispered regrets. With ghosts of our past surrounding us, will we have the strength to confront them together? Or will they tear us apart once more? I felt the weight of my fears cascade down around us, and as the last echo of thunder faded into distance, the ground trembled beneath my feet, threatening unstable ground. The shadows shifted, and an ancient consciousness slipped through the veil, whispering promises of deep-seated hurts begging for recognition. while entangled tightenings whispered whether new bonds might welcome even more heartbreak. With the storm still raging, I stood, heart pounding in my chest, a longing seed sprouting against an unrelenting chaos ahead. Realizing it was not merely the shadows that I feared, it was the truth behind what I still had buried deep within me that wrote our fate. The storm's chaotic symphony blurred and twisted the space around us, both menacing and electric. I clasped the stranger's hand, the warmth of his touch an ember against the engulfing chill of the shadowed moss surrounding us. The uncertainty drew taut in my chest, a quivering string threatening to snap at any moment. Each sob of wind felt like a reminder of all that was lost, while the flickers of hope waged a desperate battle against despair. "Can I trust you?" The words were barely a whisper, laden with doubt, yet the darkness propelled me into this fragile moment, the choice looming heavier than before. Trust was a tether, darkly woven with the threads of nostalgia and heartache, a lifeline I'd pulled tight for too long as shadows siphoned my joy. "Yes," he breathed, resolute in the tempest of uncertainty. "Trust isn't built in a moment. It's forged in every step we take together." I searched his face for some semblance of conviction, for a promise etched on his features that we could transcend the battleground of grief laid before us. Yet, the truth I buried echoed back, taunting me. Would we really escape, or would I be caught once more in the spiral of deep yearning and unhealed wounds? But Edith stepped forward, her heart brimming with a gentleness only someone who understood loss could possess. "You fought your way through the abyss for far too long. Don't let shadows dictate your worth, your power." Her voice felt like balm against the turmoil, but pain still shrouded my heart with a tenacity that refused to yield. The ground rumbled beneath us, an echo of my doubts exploding into the sky, a dark reflection rising in the winds that whipped around us. "But what if I'm just drawing in shadows?" I cried, my voice fracturing as I steadied myself, desperate to wrestle with the reality looming like a storm cloud overhead. What if, in striving for light, I end up swallowed by the darkness one more time? "Let it be," the stranger murmured, eyes piercing through my haze of fear. "Let all that crushes you guide your truth. You're not alone, I'm here." Resolutely, I focused on the warmth of his grip, anchoring me amidst the swirling chaos. Shadows lunged, seeking to entangle us and drown the light I dared to kindle. I had faced these feelings before: betrayal, regret, abandonment, but I refused to become a shadow myself, lingering without substance and purpose. I needed to reclaim my heart, one piece at a time. And then, without warning, the veil flickered. The shadows pulled back from the realization that with each surge of heartache came a flicker of possibility, a tether between what was and what could be. Beneath the surface, beneath the pain, love still nestled. But it was a love woven into the fabric of understanding, not naive or blind, and I could feel dormant chords of trust ringing in the vast chorus of uncertainty echoing within me. "That I am still afraid," I said hoarsely, vulnerability laid bare. "But what if embracing the unknown can lead us somewhere beautiful?" Edith's eyes shimmered with something like pride. "That is the essence of healing. Every ounce of fear you face is a chance to weave something new and beautiful from your pain." That I, in that moment of clarity, surrounded by chaos, I drew strength from both Edith and the stranger. "Then let's walk into that unknown, together," I declared, allowing the warmth to seep through my trembling resolve. I took a small step, the shadows retreating just enough to let light break through. Hand in hand, we pressed forward into the heart of the turmoil, where shadows receded and the horizon beckoned. It felt raw but beautiful, the truth of grief woven into the fabric of our journey, illuminating the path ahead. I heard the echo of all my burdens, loss and heartache, but also strength and resiliency, an unwavering melody of survival. And then, the storm began to dissipate, swirling clouds giving way to a breathtaking expanse. Light flooded in, golden and warm, cascading over us like a gentle embrace, whispering promises of renewal and liberation. A single tear rolled down my cheek, finding a pathway between the shades of bitterness and hope. At last, I turned back to the figure, his essence sparkling with warmth, and allowed the words to spill forth, each one shedding layers of anguish and doubt. "I forgive you. Thank you, he whispered, profound relief softening his features. Thank you for letting us both breathe light again. As clarity enveloped us, I felt the remnants of shadows floating softly away, tethered to no one, fading with the light that was now firmly embraced. I knew the journey would still be rife with challenges, but now all burdens lifted, every moment marked by acceptance, I could walk forward unbound by fear. Together, the three of us promised an iridescent melody woven from our pain and rebirth as we moved forward, hearts beating in rhythm, listening closely. And as we stepped into the new dawn, the warmth of love and understanding cradled us, a testament to our resilience. Binding grief to Gracie, a tender reminder carved deep in my soul. In that intricately woven moment, as the past drifted behind us, I realized what I'd been searching for all along. I could carry love and loss, forging paths anew, brightened by acceptance and strength. As the journey of healing began to unfurl before us, and I whispered softly, "We are still here, together."